With a more defined mission, the Eagle needs no second crew member or variable swept wing. It combines enormous speed and range with agility and heavy firepower. The F-18 Eagle remains the best single fighter concept ever built. Fighter design is as much a question of philosophy as technology. Russian defense hinges upon large numbers of clever, basic planes like the MiG-21. The fighter that scored so well in Vietnam still provides value for the money, and Russia produces many of them. In the U.S., the emphasis has always been quality over quantity. But when confronted by the sheer number of Russian fighters, the U.S. begins to have second thoughts. The 1996 movie Independence Day, starring Will Smith, features 3,978 computer-generated F-18 Hornets. In the early 1970s, many of the supporting NATO forces fly the Lockheed F-104 starfighter, a plane that's very effective but approaching retirement age. The U.S. Air Force never invests heavily in the starfighters, but U.S. allies snap them up, their answer to the lightweight, value-driven Russian MiG. The F-104's popularity reveals a large market that Western manufacturers vie for. The French, with their Mirage F-1E, offer a sophisticated, lightweight fighter that delivers value for the money. Likewise, the Swedes present the Saab Draken, a technologically brilliant design. But the two European concepts have to do battle with U.S. manufacturers. General Dynamics, out of the fighter business for some time, wants back in. They're determined to win contracts from NATO countries looking to replace aging starfighters, and to fill America's need for a more economical fighter than the F-15. The number of new planes would have to at least match the Soviet force, which justifies spending millions on a cutting-edge design. Spin testing shows the spectacular soundness of the prototype. From this design, the manufacturer offers up a dedicated single-seat fighter version, which becomes the F-5 Tiger. This low-cost and high-performance aircraft generates many foreign sales, but fails to wow U.S. buyers. Still, the overall U.S. and European markets for fighters provides a windfall for Northrop. The company continues to refine the F-5 for even more maneuverability, extending the area where the forward section of the wing joins the fuselage into a forward straight. In the early 1970s, this sophisticated concept joined some other T-38 legacies, like the two light engines to produce Northrop's next design, the F-17 Cobra, prototype designation YF-17. The Cobra is larger than the F-5 and offers other advances like the twin-tail concept, which provides increased stability at high angles of attack. Northrop hopes the model's distinct lineage, good design, and company reputation will trounce its rival, General Dynamics. In the high-stakes battle for government contracts, this is all-out war. Though the plane lacks full fly-by-wire capabilities, Northrop hopes for big sales overseas. With that commitment, they can retool their California factory, bringing an end to F-5 production. Northrop also pins its hopes on a lucrative U.S. Air Force contract, if it can beat its arch-rival, General Dynamics. In April 1974, the press, dignitaries, and the YF-17. Northrop feels confident as it unveils the new fighter. And for good reason. They've created a great plane at a good price. And both the U.S. Air Force and NATO allies recently increased their estimation of how many fighters they need. At stake is the biggest peacetime Western fighter deal ever struck. Of course, the people at General Dynamics are thinking the same thoughts about their new YF-16 Fighting Falcon. The contest is settled in a head-to-head competition at Edwards Air Force Base in California. Since 1982, more than 1,458 F-18s have been produced for the U.S. Navy and U.S. Marine Corps, and for the armed services in Canada, Australia, Spain, Kuwait, Switzerland, Finland, and Malaysia.
Time to take care of that unwanted hair? What are your options? You can rip it out, pluck it, melt.
In June of 1974, the YF-16 and YF-17 prototypes go head-to-head, competing for a government contract for a new air combat fighter. A vigorous fly-off pushes each plane to its limit in a test of engineering skill, mechanical prowess, and, as it turns out, business savvy. Both aircraft handle superbly. The contest is razor close. But at the end of the day, the U.S. Air Force awards the contract to General Dynamics for its YF-16. One reason is cost. The YF-16's engine, though more expensive, shares components with the earlier F-15, making service skills and spare parts readily available. General Dynamics takes an enormous gamble on the new F-16 Fighting Falcon. Even before the contest, the company has retooled for the new jet, an incredible risk that gives them a winning angle, the promise of fast delivery. As for the YF-17, its air brake reveals a deficiency, nose wheel liftoff speeds are too high, and the takeoff roll is too long. The judges also question the fighter's range. Though a superb jet with excellent lineage, the YF-17 simply can't compete against General Dynamics' winning entry. There's room for only so many fighters, and the F-16 Fighting Falcon scoops the domestic and export markets. The YF-17 flies off into history, just one more design that doesn't quite make it. General Dynamics wins the European market by offering NATO countries a share of the aircraft's production within their own borders. The company exports the technology they develop in Fort Worth to Holland, Belgium, and other European nations to produce identical aircraft thousands of miles apart. Going one step further, General Dynamics garners more sales outside the NATO bloc. Several F-16s are slated for Iran, but when there is a sudden change of regime, the plane gets delivered to Israel. Serving the Egyptian Air Force, the ever-versatile F-16 develops into a very successful ground attack aircraft. This Danish twin-seat version demonstrates the agility of General Dynamics' high-tech solution to the lightweight fighter and attack requirement. Fortunately, the U.S. Navy has a different set of parameters. Their old, reliable F-14 Tomcats still do the job, but they do it at high cost.